Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy, Pigskin Pete. Happy Tuesday to everybody. With the 2020 season looming, we got the second and final signing period coming up in February. We'll be covering that. But this Clemson Tater football team is loaded. They're the loaded Taters, as you can see from the thumbnail there. What I want to talk about today, everybody likes to talk about who's leaving or who's left. I want to talk about today who's staying. We all know how important recruiting and developing players is for every college football team out there. All you ever hear every year, you're hearing this with LSU now. Of course, LSU's had some coaches leave and a ton of talent. And I was on here last week saying, not so fast. Look at how LSU has been recruiting. Now, losing Joe Burrow is a big deal, but we'll see how they can replace that quarterback position. We also talked about some of the people that have left Clemson either through transfer or through graduation, some very, very key players on their team. But Clemson has been recruiting at a high level and developing players at a high level for a very long time now. So what I'm going to talk about today is who is still at Clemson. Listen, we all know who's coming in. This is why recruiting is so important. If you look at the recruiting rankings for Clemson, they're ranked number 1 in the country right now. They'll finish either number 1 or number 2, most likely number 1 after the final signing day in February. Just listen to some of these names. Okay, so this past season, the defensive line was the most youngest and inexperienced position on the football team. Okay, the year before that, it was probably the backfield. So it switches back and forth. This year, the offensive line is who we're losing a lot of to the NFL. So it'll be sort of the same situation as the defensive line was this year. But look who's coming in, and also look who's staying on Clemson's defensive line this year. But let's look at some of these recruits for Clemson. Miles Murphy, defensive end, the number 3 overall recruit in the country. Not just as his position, in the country overall. Brian Brzee, however you want to pronounce it. The number 1 overall recruit in the country at any position. Defensive tackle. We all know about DJ Uiagalelei, or however you say it. I'll get it down here soon enough. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue yet. Anyway, the 13th overall recruit in the country, the number 1 pro-style quarterback in the country, out of California. DeMarcus Bowman, running back out of Florida, the 16th overall recruit in the country, the 3rd running back in the country. DeMonte Capehart, defensive tackle, the number 24 overall recruit in the country, number 2 at his position. Fred Davis, cornerback, number 26 overall recruit in the country, number 3 at his position. Trenton Simpson, linebacker, number 29 overall recruit in the country, 3rd at his position. So, just right there, I'm not going to go through every single player. There's a ton of 4-stars, too, some great players offensively and defensively, especially offensive line. We'll be here all day. But just listen to what I just said to you. The 3rd overall recruit in the country, the 1st, the 13th, the 16th, the 24th, the 26th, the 29th. This team is absolutely loaded, and that doesn't even count who's staying from last year. That's what we're going to talk about today. Let's take a look first at the offense. And I want to try to give you maybe a little bit of introspective information about some of these players and why what Clemson does confuses some people. All right, so you can see here on the left side of your screen, obviously Trevor Lawrence is coming back for his true junior season, and he will be at the top of everybody's Heisman list, based on how good he is and the schedule they have. This guy, the thing that hurts him as far as the Heisman goes is obviously the fact that he doesn't play a lot of second halves. So he's not able to run up the stat sheet the way that some players in other conferences or at other teams do. Anyway, that's not important. Lawrence is coming back and will be one of the best players in the country again. Etienne and Lynn J. Dixon at the running back position. I just got done telling you about DeMarcus Bowman as the 3rd overall running back in the country, 5-star running back coming in. Etienne and Dixon, the 1-2 punch, reminds me a lot of Spiller and Davis from back in the day, Thunder and Lightning. Both of these players are elite You already know everything you need to know about Travis Etienne. We're not going to go over that. A lot of you guys out there are extremely butthurt about Etienne deciding to come back. And if I was on Clemson's schedule or somebody that potentially could play them in the playoffs in 2020, I'd be butthurt too. So I don't blame you. Fact of the matter is he's coming back. Deal with it. And you're going to have to deal with it too. He doesn't really care what you think either about it. Let's look at the receiver position. Tons of talent. This is why Clemson is regarded as wide receiver university. Amari Rodgers coming back. Could have entered the draft. Justin Ross coming back. He has to come back. He's got one more year before he can enter the draft. Look, you think about these next two guys, Frank Ladson and Joe Ngata. All right. Both of those guys were true freshmen this year. Both of those guys, 5-star wide receivers. You didn't see them a whole lot this year. You saw them maybe a lot in the second half after games were put away. If you think about Justin Ross, everybody in the country knows who Justin Ross is. Everybody knew who Justin Ross was last year when he was a true freshman because of the outstanding game that he had in the national championship. Just carved up Alabama's defense like it was nothing. But the fact of the matter is, Clemson does not play a lot of true freshmen. Or they don't play them a lot, give them a lot of time. All right, they don't start. They're not starters every game. If I told you that Justin Ross didn't start pretty much all of his freshman year last year, he didn't. Now, he shined in the national championship game, but you got to. This team is so loaded, you've got to earn your stripes. Even Trevor Lawrence, when he came in last year, had to fight it out with Kelly Bryant before games before he got named the starter. Everybody knew that Trevor Lawrence was a much, much better, much more skillful quarterback than Kelly Bryant, but he had to earn it. Joe Ngata, Frank Ladson are elite players that, if you're not a Clemson fan, a lot of you guys don't know who these two are. You're going to know who they are next year. Rodgers, Ross, Ladson, and Ngata, this wide receiver core just continues to stay loaded. Stay loaded. As you can see there on the bottom there, Jackson Carman, critical piece of the offensive line coming back. Losing a lot of veterans, man. Pollard, Cervenka. I mean, it's just, we're losing a lot of veterans on the offensive line. Thankfully, we've recruited very well at that position. It'll be like, again, like I said, like the defensive line this year. There'll be very, very talented young players with not a ton of experience. I think the offensive line is not going to be as big of a rebuild as people think. We've, again, been recruiting well there. And due to the schedule they play, they've got to play a lot of snaps, against lower tier competition. All right, let's take a look at the defense. If I can pull it up. All right. So, what do we have here? A key returning starter on the defensive line, Niles Pinckney. I expected him to probably declare for the draft, but he didn't. So, anyway, Pinckney was unfortunately injured in the Ohio State Fiesta Bowl game. He was the most experienced guy on the defensive line, okay? But anyway, he was injured in the Ohio State game. Did not play in the national championship game. He was sorely missed. But anyways, he will be back next year, and and I'm super excited to see him come back to mentor some of these younger guys like Miles Murphy, Brian Brzee, when they come in. Logan Rudolph and Xavier Thomas, XT3 on the edge. This is two elite players coming back. Xavier Thomas had a rough year this year. I say he had a rough year. He was productive when he was healthy. He suffered a pretty bad concussion and would just never look the same after that. They didn't play him a whole lot after that. But this guy is one of the fastest edge rushers in the country, and I'm confident that if he gets fully healthy, he will have a breakthrough season this coming season in 2020. James Skalski, this is huge. James Skalski's coming back. James Skalski is probably one of my favorite players on the football team. He reminds me a lot of, what's his name? Damn it. Anyway, I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, this guy is a complete and total bulldog. He plays angry. He's an elite pass rusher. He's an elite pass run stopper. He's not as good as like Simmons was, say, in coverage. But this guy just plays angry. He's obviously, everyone knows him from getting knocked out of the national championship game with the targeting call. Anyway, the guy he reminds me of, Ben Boulware. Now it just came to me. Everybody remembers Ben Boulware, a legend at Clemson. A lot like him, just a complete and total bulldog, tackling machine. James Skalski coming back is huge at the linebacker position. In the secondary, Darian Kendrick coming back as a cornerback. Darian Kendrick was a wide receiver that was converted to cornerback. He was a 5-star wide receiver too. That shows you how deep and talented Clemson's wide receiver core is. They switched him over this season to cornerback this year. As for his first year playing cornerback, I think he did really well. So he'll only get better next year, and he's going to be a veteran. Andrew Booth. Andrew Booth had an injury problem. I think he's going to get some surgery done in the offseason, but he should be fully ready to go next year. He'll be an integral part of the secondary. And, of course, Nolan Turner. From all accounts, I think Nolan Turner is eligible to enter the draft, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody probably can correct me on that. I'm pretty sure he is. He'll be a senior this year. But I think he's coming back, and he's obviously an integral part of that secondary as well, and we've recruited really well there also. So, listen, this team, is particularly across the defensive line in this secondary, is going to be loaded. And some of these guys that are coming in, Brzee, Murphy, these guys are day one starters, even at Clemson. Brzee is probably the most talented defensive lineman I've seen come into Clemson in years. And this guy's just a man among boys. I think this guy's going to be a complete and total game wrecker in the next 2 or 3 years to come. So there you guys have it. The Taters are loaded like a baked potato in 2020. I did not name every recruit. I did not name every single guy that's returning. Before you type it in the comment section, you're going to be telling me, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about this guy? These are just some of the key components to both the offense and the defense that everybody is happy to see coming back, including your boy, Pigskin Pete. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Go Tigers. Pigskin Pete's checking out.